You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is your Fatty with a Natty coming at you for episode 62 on this week of Halloween. Everybody got all their stuff ready. I tell you what I don't have is a $25 damn bag of candy, but I'm still willing to jump out of the bushes and scare somebody. Maybe throw popcorn balls. That's how you just wad them up, right? And put them in. That's what I could do. Damn, I never even thought about that. I'll just get some plain ass popcorn and just wad it up into a ball in some saran wrap. That's a trick. That'd be all right. And then when someone went to open it, it'd just go all over. Damn. Why haven't I thought of this sooner? Anyhow, let's see what we got going for this week. I don't know, a bunch of garbage. I know I've been slacking. Sorry about that. I was trying to make things a little bit more normal studio-wise because this chair is hurting my butt. But as you guys know, I'm all over the place, so I couldn't just do something simple. I had to go full ham, so I'm not done yet. Because, I get started and then I go, well, maybe I'll do this, or maybe that would be better. So, still working on it. Sadly, along the way, I have found some more faulty equipment. And I keep thinking to myself, it's frustrating as hell finding out when you go to record that the stuff doesn't work anymore. And I think, well, that's failed prematurely. And then I realized that we've been doing this for quite a while now. And that's a lot of getting kicked around in a giant tote going back and forth between the house and the shop and the hill climbs and everything else. So it technically makes sense why some of this stuff has started to fail. So we're going to have to punt and replace a few things just to keep everything rolling. But we'll figure it out and we'll get some things worked out along the way to make it so we have 2 dedicated operations on top of the hill climb stuff. So maybe I don't have to keep packing this shit back and forth all the damn time. So, there's why I've been lacking. Also, been pretty busy on Facebook. For anybody that follows me on there knows that I posed a question on Sunday, I believe, and as my daughter would say, made everyone big angry. It's the damnedest thing. Of all the stuff that I've ever posted on any of the social media, of course the one that gets the most traction is the one that pisses everyone off the most. But what I don't understand, and I suppose I should preface this with what I posted was something along the lines of, why is it that suddenly there is a giant influx of people begging for help or stuff? I mean, it's a double-edged sword because you guys know I will help anyone if I can. But there's this it's not even strange, I guess, but this crazy influx of people begging on social media for, food or money or stuff, and so I pose the question is, why is it that, because here we are in the 29th day, I guess, 28th day, however that breaks down, of the government shutdown. Excuse me. And paychecks, for the most part, haven't stopped, or they've just barely stopped. And now the EBT thing, which is set to theoretically go into effect on Sunday. So technically Monday. If that's the case, why is everyone in a full-fledged panic about, I'm not going to get EBT next month, so I have no food now? Which I understand is a thing. That's possible. But if you were already out of food a week ago, where's the planning? Why has this become so normalized? Was my question, or was the gist of the post. Why is there this seemingly sudden, I should say, normalization of everyone just losing their minds and having absolutely no shame in getting on Facebook or TikTok or wherever and just asking for everything? Now, again, I feel like it's a double-edged sword because I understand that prices of everything have continued to rise drastically in some cases. Life is definitely not getting any cheaper. And on the flip side of that, most of us aren't getting paid any more than we ever have or any more than we were before all the prices started going through the roof. Which poses a lot of questions. Like why do we not have more folks in government? And it's a stupid question. It's rhetorical. I believe I'm using that correctly. We already know why government in Washington or elected officials don't give a damn, because we're not contributing to their party, or we're not elites. I mean, some of us may be. If you are, congratulations. I'm super happy for you, because I don't buy into the fact that billionaires should just divvy out their billions to everyone. I just don't. They didn't become billionaires by just giving all of their income or however they became a billionaire to everyone else just because it may or may not be the humanitarian thing to do. So we know that they don't give a damn. But the normalization is what just blows my mind. Anyhow, I posted that, and I got so many people. I mean, like a shit ton of people. 300 and some odd comments, probably pushing 400 had I not turned off the comments, because I finally just got tired of answering all the angry folks who told me I was entitled, I was probably a woman beater, I was probably a racist, I was somehow sitting in my tower, shitting on people, you name it. And I was everything but white that day. And out of, let's call it 350 comments, there might have been 20 to 30 that agreed with me as to why no one else is posing the questions of why is this somehow normal, okay, how is it, or why is it becoming normalized, or why is there apparently just no shame anymore? This is very, very multifaceted. The topic, let alone the question or the answers. In fact, I have to collect my thoughts here for a second, because it goes down so many avenues of, let's just start at the EBT thing, okay? There's 40 million people, I believe the statistic is, on welfare. And again, I get it. The median household income in most areas, I know it is here in Utah, especially the majority of Utah. I mean, there's a couple of places that are, bougie and have the money to back stuff up. But for the most part, yeah, everybody is struggling, and I get that. And I would like to think that if I had, $1 billion, sure, I would help out. That's a lot of zeros. I could spend a lot of money in my local communities, or what I would consider local to me, and help a lot of folks. And I get that, and that's fine. I've always thought that if I was in that position that I would, but that's not what most people think. So if there are all these people losing their minds about EBT being shut off, there's got to be a better way, first of all. Second of all, and I know that none of you guys listening are of this mindset, but now all these people are coming out saying, well, if they shut off EBT, I'll just go steal it. I'm going to go steal whatever they're not going to give me. Like, where and when did that become a thing? At what point did we, and I say we very loosely, obviously, but when the hell did that just become okay? Like, people are outside of their damn minds. If they're not going to give it to me, if the government isn't going to pay for my food, I'll just go steal it? What in the actual hell is going on? Again, I don't even know how that mindset exists. And out of those hundreds and hundreds of comments, people were trying to justify how, why they needed EBT or why they needed WIC or any of the programs, which are great programs. And again, if someone needs help, fine. But that was intended to be a temporary come up to help you get on your feet or help you in a tough time, not to just live on, not to just rely on as normal everyday life. And that just blows my mind, the hundreds and hundreds of people that were just going ham in the comments justifying that position. I cannot make heads or tails of it. And apparently I'm a piece of shit because I was trying. I don't get it. I can, however, assure all of you that there are still plenty of people, and maybe it's a Gen X thing or a, Gen X or older. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's clearly younger folks who somehow have rationalized this within their mind space as being okay, or they just deserve it just for existing. Like, no. Universal basic income, universal basic housing, universal basic health care. All those things sound real great on paper, but someone has to foot the bill. And you don't, again, multifaceted, very hard to address, because is just breathing, just existing, does that entitle you to certain basic rights? Some say yes, some say no. But as we all know, nothing in this world is free. Nothing. I don't give a damn. At some point, even air somehow still has a price. And all these crazies that think they're just going to go out and steal their way, loot and steal whatever the government isn't going to give them. I got another thing. They have another thing coming. But like I said, there are still plenty of people that share my mindset of that's not how this works. And I've even seen comments saying, after they shut off EBT and you see somebody at the store stuffing groceries in their, pants or their pockets or their bra or their backpack or whatever, you didn't see anything. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, no, yes, I did. And I will absolutely call you on it, because all that does is screw the rest of us. And someone, somewhere, has to pay for this shit. Sorry, kids, that's how it works. I realize I'm just saying that in general. I'm not implying that any of you guys don't understand that, but man, I literally, like I said, I just cannot wrap my head around it. Where do they think this shit comes from? They think that because Walmart, for instance, the Walton family is, multi-billionaires. They think that they just get the shit free and they're somehow pumping us for it. They're putting us over the coals because someone somewhere just gives it to them and they're selling it to us at an inflated rate to make themselves billionaires. Come on now. Nothing is free. Someone has to pay for it all. Someone has to pay the piper at some point. Now, do I think that, a lot of the things that Doge did, and, do I think that we could probably offset a lot of that within our government? Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't need to be sending, whatever. And you guys know I'm just pulling this stuff. I'm just shooting from the hip. But we don't need to be sending, $40 million to, who knows, Zimbabwe for, transsexual drugs or procedures, rather than sending that $40 million or keeping, or however you want to call it, saying, okay, well, here's $40 million that we didn't need to send some random country for some random horse shit. We can spend it on helping our population with food or housing or healthcare or heat or electricity or water, basic necessities, rather than, sex change operations or any of some of the crazy stuff that has been and probably still is being done within our government. But at the same time, they don't care, and for the most part, they're not listening. We've already been over this 1,000 times. Is it right? Absolutely not. Does it change the fact, does it justify the opposite end of that? Stealing, looting, rioting, whatever, so where the hell does that entitlement come from? I realize that it's a lot of younger folks, and if that happens to be you, if you're a younger folk, I'm sorry, I assume it's not you, but there are a lot of younger folks who have this sense of entitlement that just because they woke up and are breathing and are human, they are entitled to such things. And that's simply just not the case. I don't know. It's wild, 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 wild times. I can assure you that our parents, and don't get me wrong, my parents struggled just like everyone else, and I assume their parents did, and their parents also. I think that's nothing new. Struggling to make ends meet and make life happen, obviously not that, you know what I mean. Making life happen isn't hard, or making a life isn't hard. However, raising children, keeping a roof over your head, having transportation, etc., that is nothing new. But our parents and our parents' parents, even if there would have been social media to run to, I promise you they did not just run right out and have no shame in just implying that they were owed it. Most of them are probably rolling in their graves as we speak, as far as the older generations. So, if it's this bad now, where's it going to be in 10 more years? If we even make it that long. At this point, 3-Eye Atlas, or whatever the hell it is kind of sounding like a good out at this point. I mean, if it's going to just keep getting worse, take me to the damn rock in the sky at this point. Sorry, I did get a little off track there, which you guys all know I do. I did want to mention, before the 3-Eye Atlas thing, which, again, I'm still game for, but the amount of people who, in, the big angry, were going all ham justifying their position, that said, well, I have to make my car payment, and I have to make this and that and the other. That's one thing that kind of blew me away. I'm sure you guys know enough about me by now. I'm just a dumb redneck from Utah. I like to consider myself fairly intelligent. I know a lot of things about a lot of things, but I am by no means a well-educated, formally educated guy. I don't have a piece of paper. I rebuilt military aircraft. I've been wrenching on cars and toys, anything you could twist a wrench on since I was 10. Like I said, I rebuilt military airplanes for almost 2 decades. I've built jet engines, all kinds of stuff, and I promise, stick with me. But I don't make a ton of money. I never have, but I make pretty good money for being just, a big idiot that can twist a wrench. Does that mean I have surplus? Absolutely not. I'm paycheck to paycheck just like everyone. But when I started raising my 2 kids as my own and took them in and upon myself, I did whatever I had to do to feed them and house them. And sometimes that was really sketchy. I never went, well, maybe I can just beg somebody for some food, but I got to make my car payment. No. Christ, no. Car payment, all those things, cell phone payment, all those things were secondary to the heat being on and there being something in the damn pantry or the fridge to eat for the kids and myself, obviously. I'm not going to go skinny over the whole thing. But my point is that a lot of those comments seemed like all of these people didn't know how, or rather chose not to rob Peter to pay Paul. I realize that's not a good thing, mind you. I understand that is a terrible, terrible idea and an awful way to get by. But that is what I remember from my childhood. They didn't teach that shit when we were in school. You guys know I'm pushing 50. I'll be 50 here just after the first of the year. They didn't teach that shit when I was in school. There was no financial literacy classes or some of the crazy stuff that these kids have now. My kids have financial literacy. for hell's sake. I got thrown a checkbook register. I think that's what they're called. I don't remember. It's been so long since I actually had a checkbook. I actually just found one. But you know what I'm talking about. No one taught us how to balance a checkbook or how to budget or, those things. We did whatever the hell we had to do. If there was no food in the fridge and the heat was going to get shut off, then the car payment didn't get made. And you sucked it up and paid the goddamn late fees or whatever on the flip side. You didn't pay the car payment and then go next door and beg for, a week's worth of groceries. So maybe that's it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a lot of these folks just don't know that line of thinking or that way of living. And again, I realize it sucks. It's terrible. I certainly do not endorse it. But Jesus, do whatever you got to do, especially if you got kids. My God, I'm not going to let my kids go hungry so that my car payment doesn't have a late fee. Shit, And the furlough thing, that's a whole nother subject. I've been furloughed when I was working for the Department of Defense. It was the other thing, and I probably mentioned it last time or maybe a couple episodes ago, but the end of fiscal year for the government, as I'm sure you all know, and anyone across the pond, I can't speak for over there, or how much you guys pay attention to what is going on in this current train wreck over here, but every fiscal year, the government is, the new fiscal year starts October 1. Well, like I said, when I was rebuilding military aircraft, every single year, we got into September, and it was, okay, everybody prepare for a shutdown, and there was always the looming, yep, it's going to shut down. It's going to shut down. That's just what it is. And they always pull this bullshit, and whatever side it is pulls this bullshit so they can try and get whatever they want. They use that as a bargaining tool to get whatever they want. So this is nothing new. And like I said, it was literally every fiscal year. Some years nothing happened other than the hype, and you worry about it for a couple of weeks, and then everything's just fine. Some years, no. Some years they shut down. And it wasn't just Trump, I promise you. And now they theoretically are, by law, entitled to back pay. Well, when I was DOD and went through an actual shutdown and got furloughed, that wasn't in effect. So somewhere I still have an IOU for a couple of weeks of back pay that was just tough shit. We were not given that back. We were not told we were going to get it back. Even if they didn't, there was that wasn't a thing. This is probably like 2016, maybe, under Obama, I believe. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention. You guys know that. But we had a full-on shutdown, like I said, which happened frequently, but it was pretty rare that they actually sent or furloughed the DOD folks, because that's a whole different pot. That comes out of a whole different pot, and there's a ton of shit like that. The IRS is one thing, the DOD is one thing, and like I said, I'm sure you guys, for the most part, know this. But every time they would shut down, we would just keep on trucking like it was no big deal. Got to support the warfighter, got to fix these planes and get them out. And then, like I said, the one time in my, 17 or 18 years, we actually got furloughed, and that was not a thing. There was no back pay. There was none of that. It was just, hey, you're going home for 2 weeks, and hopefully it's only 2 weeks, and then we'll see you when you get back, basically. So we called creditors and called the mortgage company and did whatever the hell we had to do to make it work. And why that is somehow just out the window now, I have no idea. No idea. Obviously, for most people, if you're smart, you have a little bit of savings if you can. But I never did. Shit, I don't now. But, I, yeah, like I said, I'm at a loss for words on that one. But you did whatever the hell you had to do to make it work. And then you figure it out. It might take you the next 6 months to deal with it. But guess what? The world didn't end. The kids didn't go hungry. All the shit eventually got paid. If you had a good financial institution, a credit union or someone, you could call them and say, hey, I'm a government employee. And they go, oh, okay, you betcha. We'll just defer that payment to the end. Don't you worry about it. You just do your best to survive. You say, oh, God, man, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. And then some of them just said, no, we don't do that because we don't give a shit. It's not our problem. But this is nothing new. This is certainly not the first time, and it certainly won't be the last. So people just need to, good Lord. I mean, yes, it's dragging on. Yes, there seems to be no end in sight. But again, I promise you, it's not going to last forever. And at some point, everything will be all right again, at least in theory. On that same theory, the old Wonder Engineer studio dog over here is telling me it's time to go out. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back soon. Are you a business owner or marketing director for your company? Would you like to explore the potential benefits of advertising on the show? The Blowed Out podcast currently reaches listeners in over 104 cities spread across 13 countries worldwide. To explore advertising options, including budgeting and frequency, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. All right, just like that, we're back. Another thing that I was thinking of that apparently just today was announced that we are starting back up our nuclear program. And I haven't gone down this rabbit hole very much, but I do think that if there's anyone out there that genuinely thinks that we stopped that for any reason, probably needs to rethink that. I mean, call me crazy, but I assure you, we did not just completely stop at any point, regardless of what anyone says. So this whole starting it back up thing, we never stopped. And apparently Russia has been testing some new things. You think they stopped? Come on now. Well, let's not kid ourselves. Guys, that stuff never stopped. We've just been saving that for a rainy day, and I assure you that it has been going on the whole time. We've been saving something for a rainy day this whole time. This is, again, just like the shutdown, this is nothing new. I promise you. We are not completely starting over from scratch. Sadly, at this point, honestly, I don't think nuclear war or even World War III is probably the biggest thing we have to worry about at this point. It might actually kind of sadly refocus everything onto something other than the madness off the rails that we have been. But again, I promise you, it's nothing new. I don't mean to go all Alex Jones here, but I'm sure you guys probably share the same mindset as me, and this isn't just an overnight, oh, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? Let's fire that nuclear stuff back up. Because why not? Come on now. Stop it. Anyhow, much like everything currently, and the last many episodes, I don't have the answers. I wish I did, and I don't go too super deep into any of it because I don't follow any of it that super deep, which you guys know. So sometimes I don't necessarily feel like I'm the most well-versed to speak on certain things. I follow what I follow, and I keep just enough track so that I can, talk some smack or pose some questions. And again, I think everyone should be. I think if you're not wondering what is wrong with the world or why EBT or SNAP or any of these things are apparently just considered a way of life, I think that's as much of a problem as thinking so. I think everyone should be posing these questions to everyone. But again, stuff's crazy. You guys all know it. Everywhere. Jamaica. Man. Sorry, guys. Hope everybody's okay. I hope. That's rough. That storm looked gnarly, to say the least. Cuba, I think you're still kind of going through it right now. Maybe southern Florida. Again, I'm not keeping real close track, but our thoughts go out to those folks. Hope you recover well, or can recover. Again, I don't have the answers, and I pose the question of if anyone can tell me who does. I would love to hear it, but at the end of the day, it's just another day, and like I said before, at some point, everything will be all right, one way or another. Everything has a way of working itself out. The bigger thing, I guess, that we should be worried about is, at least for a lot of us, it's starting to get pretty cold at night. And, we should probably start addressing that as far as homelessness and things of that nature. There's a lot of good programs in place, guys. If you need help, feel free to reach out. I don't know if 211 works everywhere, but there's a lot of good things in place. A lot of them are state funded. So this shutdown, hopefully lasting not much longer, shouldn't affect too terribly, at least up front. Maybe at the state level, they can kind of buffer it until Washington gets their shit figured out, which, probably never will happen, but maybe. We gotta stay hopeful, right? I mean, there's always a chance. But I'll say we're gonna try and get something together with everybody. I know I keep saying that, but we keep running into stuff for reasons that it either gets too late that none of us have it left in us or something else. But much like usual, we have a humanitarian aid project this weekend. We've got a friend who needs some help with a Ford. Big shocker that it's a Ford, but so we're going to try and get that handled up and hopefully still have some time on Saturday to throw down with all the kids and have a good, fun podcast. But like I said, if anybody has a better answer than me, please let me know. Reach out. If you would like to sponsor the podcast or advertise on the show, hit us up. You know the drill. I suppose I've probably rattled on enough for this episode. It's getting late and it's cold and it's about time. So hopefully we'll talk to you guys here real soon. I know I pose a lot of questions that a lot of people don't like. And I'm all right with that. I've told you before, I'll ask the hard questions. But at the end of the day, I generally do care. And I hope that everyone else tries to at least a little bit also. So, be good to one another if you can. Try and help out however you can. At the end of the day, technically, we're all each other has. Nobody else gives a damn. So, like I said, do what you can. Help out if you can. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, tell a friend, like and follow. Love you guys. Cheers.